Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. Before starting the video, I request you to kindly support my channel. Subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Jazakallah. Get ready to explore an extraordinary argument for the existence of God, crafted by the brilliant philosopher Ibn Sina. His famous proof, known as the proof of the Truthful, is a powerful logical demonstration that challenges atheism, agnosticism, and deism with undeniable reasoning. In this video, we will break down Ibn Sina's remarkable idea, using clear examples and simple explanations to make his argument easy to grasp. His reasoning eliminates the possibility of an infinite chain of contingent causes, pointing instead to the necessity of a being that exists by its very nature. This profound and compelling proof stands as a challenge to atheistic and agnostic thinkers, affirming the inescapable reality of God's existence. If you're ready, let's embark on this journey. Ibn Sina, known in the West as Avicenna, was a Persian Muslim philosopher whose influence shaped both Islamic and European intellectual traditions. His contributions were so significant that his medical textbook remained a standard reference in Europe until the 18th century, and his ideas played a key role in the development of scholastic philosophy. One of Ibn Sina's most influential arguments is his proof for the existence of God, called the proof of the Truthful. This argument is built on the concepts of contingency and necessity. According to Ibn Sina, God is what he calls the necessary existence, a concept that becomes clearer as we follow his logical reasoning. When we look at the world around us, everything we see is contingent. It exists, but does not necessarily have to exist. In Arabic, Ibn Sina refers to this as possible existence. A contingent thing is something that depends on other factors for its existence. It could either exist or not, depending on conditions outside of itself. On the other hand, some things are logically impossible, such as a round square. These things cannot exist because they are inherently contradictory. While interesting, they are not relevant to this discussion. However, beyond contingent and impossible existences, there must also be a necessary existence, something that exists by its own nature and does not rely on anything else. Almost everything in the world is contingent and has a cause. But when we talk about causation, we don't just mean that a person exists because their parents had a child, or that a table exists because someone built it. Ibn Sina's idea goes much deeper. He argues that a person exists not just because of their parents, but because the very components that make up their body exist and are arranged in a particular way. They continue to exist because the air they breathe sustains them, and the earth provides the right conditions for life. Every aspect of our existence is contingent. It relies on something else for its continuation and formation. Thus, Ibn Sina asks, if everything we know is contingent, then what is the ultimate source of existence? None of these things necessarily exist in themselves. There is nothing about their nature or essence that dictates they must exist. Ibn Sina stated, that which possibility belongs in essence does not come into existence by its essence. For inasmuch as it is possible, existence by its essence is not more appropriate than non-existence. Thus, if its existence or non-existence becomes more appropriate than the other, that is because of the presence or absence of a certain thing. It follows that the existence of every possible thing is from another. All contingent things are contingent. They are dependent on and conditioned by something else, and caused by something else. This raises the question, are all things contingent, or is there a necessary existence, something that necessarily exists by itself, without relying on anything else? This is what Ibn Sina aims to explore. A Buddhist might argue that all things are contingent and dependent, or they might argue that there aren't even things at all, but that's beside the point. Whatever contingent existent we start with, It is either dependent on or caused by a necessary existence or another contingent existence. If you say the first thing is caused by a necessary existence, the argument is concluded. But most of us would argue that, no, this microphone is contingent and dependent on or caused by other things, which are themselves contingent and dependent on other things, and so forth. When I say something is caused by another thing here, I don't mean temporally, but in terms of those things that make something exist at any given moment. We quickly realize we can do this infinitely, an infinite stretch of contingent existences. But at the end, there must be something that halts that chain of dependence, which itself isn't dependent on anything else. If you conclude that there is a necessary existence, the argument is concluded. But Ibn Sina isn't this lazy. Let's assume that all existences we know are contingent. Perhaps the whole chain or set of all contingent things, the universe taken together, is necessary. Everything we know in the universe seems to be contingent because everything is dependent on something else. But if everything is dependent, where is the source? What is the first cause, as Aristotle called it? No matter how far we push the argument, we always end up with more contingencies and never reach an independent cause that starts the chain. Assume that the totality of all contingent things is necessary, while all individual constituents are contingent. This argument doesn't hold for Ibn Sina, because a totality is a collection of parts. If the whole depends on parts, it too is contingent, because it is dependent on its parts and caused by them. Ibn Sina said, if that other exists in this chain of contingent existence that goes on to infinity, every one of the units of the chain will be possible in essence, but the whole chain depends on these units. Thus, the chain too will not be necessary and becomes necessary through another. Ibn Sina elaborated on this concept in the Book of Healing, Al-Shifa, stating that every collection of causes and effects must have an external cause beyond its individual components. He outlined 3 possible explanations. 1. The totality does not need a cause and is necessary in itself. However, this contradicts the fact that it derives its necessity from its individual parts. 2. The totality is caused by all its units collectively. Yet, this would mean it causes itself, which is illogical. Since each unit is itself contingent, the whole cannot become necessary by merely grouping them together. 3. The totality is caused by some of its units. But if every unit is contingent and dependent, none have any special status to serve as the ultimate cause. The cause of something's cause must itself have an external cause. Thus, Ibn Sina concluded that the chain of contingent existences cannot be self-sufficient and must ultimately rely on an external, necessary existence. This is the remaining truth. Ibn Sina presented 4 options here. The first we covered. Maybe the whole set doesn't need a cause, but it is caused because it is dependent on its parts. The second option is that all individual units are the cause of the whole set, but this doesn't make sense because all units are contingent. Thirdly, maybe one unit in the chain is the cause, but this isn't the case either because each unit is contingent. If one unit were necessary, it wouldn't be part of the contingent set, and our problems would be resolved. So, we are left with the fourth option. The whole set of contingent things, the universe, must require a cause external to all its units. Ibn Sina said, every totality organized of causes and effects, consecutive, including a non-caused cause, has this uncaused cause as an extremity. If the cause were an intermediate, it would be caused. Thus, there must be a necessary existence external to all contingent existences, something that has to exist and could not exist. It is the uncaused cause of all things, beyond time and space. This necessary existence is God. Ibn Sina said, every chain organized of causes and effects, finite or infinite, needs a cause external to it. If it does not include anything but effects, it is necessary that this external cause be linked to it as an extremity. If this chain includes an uncaused thing, this thing is an extremity and a limit. Every chain terminates in that whose existence is necessary in itself. This necessary existence must be beyond time and space. Otherwise, it would be bound and thus contingent. It must be simple and unified, a partless reality, because if it were made of parts, it would be dependent on them and caused by them, no longer a necessary existence. Ibn Sina said, "If the essence of that whose existence is necessary is composed of two or more things that unite, it becomes necessary by them. One of these things, or every one of them, will be prior to it and a constituent of it. Therefore, that whose existence is necessary is indivisible, whether in concept or in quantity. Thus, the necessary existence must be immaterial and incorporeal, not dependent on a body. It is unlike anything in the world, not sharing the quiddity or whatness of anything else in terms of genus or species. The quiddity or essence of God is simply existence." Ibn Sina stated, "The first has no alike, no contrary, no genus, and no difference. It has no definition and cannot be indicated, except by pure, intellectual knowledge." He argued that the concept of a necessary existence aligns with Islamic monotheism. But why must there be only one necessary existence? Could multiple such beings exist? If there were two necessary beings, they would need some distinguishing factor, something that makes them similar in being necessary, yet different enough to be distinct. However, such a distinction would imply composition, meaning each would consist of parts and depend on those parts, making them contingent rather than necessary. Thus, Ibn Sina concluded that there must be only one necessary existence, one God, who possesses all the defined attributes. In essence, this is Ibn Sina's influential argument for God's existence. He believed he had demonstrated the necessity of a single, independent being whose characteristics align with the Islamic concept of God. Thank you for watching my video. See you in the next video. Allah bless you.